got the working, we got useAuth working with XState and using XState for all the state management, the internal reducer, and manage. Basically, we got everything working with XState. So what I'm going to try to figure out today is whether we can remove the need for a global auth provider and just rely on XState to share state between different instances of where you're calling the useAuth hook. That's what we're going to try to figure out today. I'm going to take let's say 45 minutes, something like that, to see if it works. If it doesn't work, then David K. Piano we're going to have words with him on Twitter, aren't we? If it works, then amazing. It means we can make our library way easier to use. That's the idea, at least. So what I'm going to start with is, first of all, showing off that it does actually work. If I click log out, I go to the logged out state. I can click login, go. It shows me use auth. It shows me the auth 0 interface. I can log in. It knows that I'm logged in, and when I reload the page, it still knows that I'm logged in, or at least it's supposed to. It's a little tricky. I need to figure out there's a bug in there somewhere where it's kind of flaky right now. But if you reload the page, you see that I'm logged out, and then it figures out that I'm indeed logged in sometimes, most of the times. We'll figure that out later. So what we're going to do next is go into here where we have the AuthProvider, which is currently, if you look at how it's being used, is that it creates a context and uses that context to communicate the internal state of the state machine and the helper functions that let us drive the state machine to all of the children. What we're going to do instead is we're going to try to move all of this into the useAuth hook so that we don't need to use context for it. So what I'm going to do is open the useAuth hook itself, and we're going to use this part of the, the docs called use service. So we're going to instantiate a service and then use that service to to share the state between different parts of the application. So in useAuth up here, where we take state from context, we are instead going to take it from a central whatever this is called. I forgot what it's called, from the XState machine. So we're gonna go up here, and right before we create the state action, we're going to interpret the state machine. So we're going to say const, let's say auth state equals interpret, which comes from oh my god, interpret is the interpreter of state machines that comes from XState, and we're using the auth machine that comes from our machine, right? So we have interpret got imported and auth machine got imported from our reducer. Might want to change that to uppercase, but this is good for now. So we've interpreted it. Now, I don't know exactly how we're going to deal with the configuration just yet, but let's start easy. So we have use auth, and we're not going to take state and send from the provider. Instead, we're going to go here, and we're going to say that we are taking state and send from use service, and we're going to take our, let's call it auth service. Actually, that's going to make our life easier. So we're going to call this auth service, and this is now a central service that shares state between different instances automatically in theory, and we can use that to pretty much do everything. I think it should, in theory, this should just work now. So we've taken it out of AuthProvider, and let's make sure we've taken it out of AuthProvider by deleting it here. We are going to need the Auth0 client as well. So that's going to be something we deal with later. And then we're going to have to hydrate the machine from local storage. We can also deal with that later. Let's for now just comment everything out and prove that it is in fact working. So we're commenting it out. I'm going to go into auth context state, and I'm going to say we don't have state and we don't have send anymore. That way I can comment things out without the whatever this is yelling at me. So we're going to need to move use effect. This is going to have to happen somewhere else. We're going to comment it out for now. So we're still rendering the provider, and we're still using that for some of the for the configuration, but the actual state machine lives directly in the useAuth component or in the useAuth hook. So if we go into the useAuth hook, we should now be able to get this just working. We don't have state.expireZ because it's now called state.context. So we're going to have to do state.context_expires_at and state.context expires at. And down here, we're going to have to use state.context for user. And we're going to return whether we are currently authenticating, and we're returning the user from context. Here, let's just copy paste this. That's going to make life easier. And the reason we have to do this is because we moved the actual application state from this. So the actual application state in the state machine is stored in the context, and then the state machine has states, which are kind of just like labels for what's happening right now. That's why we're changing all of this to say state.context instead of just state. And we were previously passing that into our context as already interpreted. Or I don't know. Words are hard today for some reason. Also, if you're watching, please say hi in the chat room. That's how I know you're there. Otherwise, there's just some weird numbers jumping up and down. So I'm going to yarn build this, and then we're gonna have to deploy it as a new version, publish it as a new version, and install it in the example. Because last week we had trouble with what was it called? We had trouble with multiple React versions in the same project, which confused things. And I have a TypeScript bug up here. We no longer have state and send in the auth context. So I should now be able to build this. Go into package.json. We're going to update the version to 090-3. Let's see if this builds. Well, my stream definitely seems to be a lot more stable now that I'm using an Ethernet cable. So I might have to figure out how to make that permanent. Okay, got that. Let's do git commit -a-nm. Test build 090-3 npm publish. Npm publish. Look at my watch to get the auth token. Come on, I got like 3 seconds on this token left. Perfect. So we release a new version, and then we go into the example app. Here, cd examples. Oh, it's already here. So I'm gonna stop this. Yarn add react use auth at 090-3. We install that, and oh, it seems to be working faster today. That's nice. Then we have to run yarn start again, and we'll know that this test works if we are able to log in, but we won't be able to see the login state persisting when you reload the page. That's gonna have to come in later. So let's see, building development bundle. Okay, success. Let's see if I can still log in. So we're not gonna see the state persist when you reload the page, but I should be able to log in and see that I'm logged in. But it doesn't seem to actually work. Let's see, login puts me there. We ran event login was sent to an uninitialized service useAuth. We forgot to start the service. So we gotta go back here, useAuth, and when we create the service, where is it? useAuth, up here, auth service is gonna need to actually start. So I'm gonna have to do this part again. That was unfortunate. Or let's see if we can fake it. Let's go into node modules, React use auth. This no, that's gonna be too hard. Okay, so we're gonna make a new version -4. This is unfortunate. I don't know a better way of doing this part, so it's gonna be a bit annoying. But at least we're using TypeScript, so we know when, the most common errors happen, so that we can avoid them before we build stuff. It's also, this is where writing better tests would have been really helpful, but I was lazy a couple of weeks ago and I didn't write those tests, and now here we are. So write tests. Don't be like me. Okay, we started the service. npm publish. Do I need to commit to npm publish? Let's commit. 090 -4 npm publish, get the token. Let's see. And if anyone has, hey Noah phone, how are you doing today? 464. Okay. And yarn add -4. So what was I gonna say? If anyone has a good recommendation for what we can do, how we can communicate the configuration to our to use auth without a provider, that would be amazing, because I don't really know how to make that API work well. So we're gonna start the Gatsby example again, and now we're gonna see if it lets us log in, and it should work now, because we're actually starting the XState service. But honestly, I don't know. That's what testing is for, right? So the problem I'm thinking about, that I don't know how to solve without having a provider. Hey Emma Hart, how are you doing today? This problem here, I'm gonna open the example in an editor. So you see here, when we go to let's see, Gatsby browser, see where we have the AuthProvider is where we're giving. So no phone, what we're doing is figuring out how to use XState, or how we can use XState, so we don't need to have a global context provider for the useAuth library, which I think will make it nicer to use. But it also means that I need to figure out a new way to pass all of this configuration into the library. So this is going to be a breaking change for users, which is unfortunate, but we'll see. So first, let's see if if login works now that we actually started the service. Cannot read property expires in of undefined. Okay, that's good. That's a new error, which I know looks weird, but is actually pretty promising. Component will mount has been renamed. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Now let's see. Where was it trying to read expires in from an undefined thing? Let's see. Git grep expires in from source. This is in AuthProvider. Where is AuthProvider? Expires in. Okay, we're not using this part. Yeah, Emma Hart, I'm doing pretty great myself. So the auth reducer TS is complaining about expires in happening here, which means it didn't get the auth result. Why didn't it get the auth result? Let's try adding a console log here, or maybe a debugger. Let's do a debugger. So I'm gonna add a debug, but that's gonna get removed, I think. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna open the library in the compiled version here, node modules, and we're gonna go into React use auth. Let me organize this by name so it's easier to find. React use auth, where is you? and we're gonna go mess around in the compiled source of the library so it's easier to figure out what's going on. Come on, ABC. React, why are you so far down? Jesus, how many libraries does this have installed? React, come on, scroll up. React use auth this. I think it's going to be index.js. Let's try that one. So I'm gonna save this so that we get it prettified. No, come on, prettier. I know you got this. Prettier, what are you complaining about? File is ignored, skipping. Okay, so we're gonna go make a new file and save it just so we get prettifying. Go to desktop, blah.js, save. Come on, save. Yay, okay. Now we can go back here and find the auth reducer. So we're gonna look for expires in down here, right? Save user to context, yep. And we're gonna add a debugger. And then I'm gonna go and Emma Hart, it is indeed my birthday today. Thank you. How are you liking Vue, no phone? I've used it before and I kind of never really, I was never able to start liking it. So let's see, ls node modules, we're going to delete a bunch of files so that we can force the Gatsby loader to use the index.js that we wanted to. So we're going to remove index.mjs and we're going to remove, let's see, this, what else? Index modern.js, index modern.js, and we're going to remove node modules, react, use auth, this, what is it? Index.umd.js, and I think that was it. Let's go node modules, react, use auth, this. So we have index.js. Aha, we still need to remove. Why didn't it delete them? Index.module star rm node modules react react use auth dist index. What else do we have? Index.mjs star and oh, okay. So that should be fine, I think. Let's do yarn start and see if we get. Oh, nice. I never used Vue with React with hooks, so I don't know how that was. I used Vue mostly the 2 version, and it was the part I most disliked was the reactive variable system because it was in a larger app when you have a lot of people working on the same components. It got kind of really confusing about what's actually going on, and we started having a lot of weird UI bugs because of that. The other part was it was because it encourages you to have a new file for every component. We ended up having a lot of very, very large components that were difficult to work with. So let's see, log in. Aha, we got the debugger. Let's see, what does the debugger say? Our context. So we have, see, the first argument is the current context. We know that there's no auth result and we have the user and whatnot. So this is still the default context. And then the other one was the event, right? Yes, so the event, interesting. We got the authenticated event, but it doesn't have any of the payload, which is wrong. Why doesn't it have the payload anymore? Okay, so now let's go see where we are sending the authenticated event. Authenticated. Okay, so that's gonna be hard. Let's make this a little bigger. So authenticated calls here Let's go look at the original code. We go into useAuth. We see where are we sending that the user is authenticated. Actually, let's git grab that. So we're gonna git grab authenticated, and let's see why isn't it getting the metadata. So we're sending authenticated in the AuthProvider. Maybe that's what's wrong. Authenticated. Send authenticated in hydrate from local storage, but that function is not being called anymore, right? Let's verify that. Git grab hydrate from local storage in source. That is being called, that is commented out. Okay, so that's not being called. Now, if we look for where else are we calling authenticated, it is in useAuth. So if we look at useAuth here, where are we sending that the user has authenticated would be in the handle auth result function, right? No? Down here. So we are sending that the user is authenticated, but we're missing the auth result and the user itself, which then causes the login process to not work, because you see here, if we go back to sources, the next thing we're going to do is try to get the auth result out of the event. So why is auth result not being populated? Let's see. Here where we're sending authenticated, let's look for that. Here, that is in, is this still the same function? I think this is the right function. Looking at compiled source code is hard sometimes. Yes, our client user info, that's us. And then this function, which does things. So we're gonna add another debugger statement here. And where's my mouse? Okay, so debugger statement, and we reload the page. Okay, so we're gonna go again from scratch. Click login. And we come here. So the debugger is now where? Cool. Which means where did we put the debugger? Was it on function RA? So what is R? R is null, that's the error, and A is our auth result, which means we got the auth result. We got the auth result itself, right? So why aren't we sending it? Aha. No. What is going wrong here? What does our send function look like? So the send function is called T. If we press out T, F of event, if deferred, So I think what's happening is that we are overwriting something here. Let's see, how are we using it? We get Shahar, the library we're using is called XState. The library we're building is called useAuth. This one. GitHub useAuth. Let's see. Yes, I think that is all still correct. So this is the library we're trying to improve. And the library we're using is called XState. So let's see. useAuth now gets state and send from use service. And I wonder, a function that sends events to the running service, and before we were using machine, which was supposed to do the same thing, I'm wondering if it's not. let's see. So we get that, and then handle authentication sends the login event and passes send into handle auth result. Handle auth result then comes here and does stuff. So let's see, let's look at what the use service function returns. So auth service, we have that. And then use service returns a, let's see, what is the return value? Here we go. So we have the state, which is the context, and then we have the sender, which gets an event. And that event, aha, interesting. Okay. So does use machine return something else? Let's see, use machine, and then we're gonna go look at the definition of that. Use machine returns the interpreter send. Aha. So these are two different, this is actually returning different functions. That was confusing. We're gonna have to talk about that with see, interpreter send. Where's send? No, come on. Interpreter send is a different. Aha. So this is a different send function than the send function that use machine returns, which is frustrating. But let's see if we can work around that. So what we're gonna do is, what are we gonna do? We can make our own send function that does the right thing. So let's call this the event send, and then we're going to make a function called const send equals a function that gets an event name as a string and event data as a, let's make it an any. No, let's make it an any for now. And this function is then going to call event send with type event name and all of the event data combined into it. And then here I'm going to do ask David why these are different. So I'm gonna ask David that later, because, or make a something. Event data, bam. So event data or like that. So this should work. I'm going to build this again. Let's do yarn build and update the package version 0.5. And we'll see if this works. So this is a hack. So what we're doing is a hack to add kind of similar behavior to the send function that comes from use service as the send function that comes from use machine, because it's confusing that they're different anyway. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that it's going to work. Okay, it's building. So git commit -m 090 -5. Is that what it is? Yep. And we say npm publish. Look at the key, the token from my watch. 078062. Did I get it wrong? I did get it wrong. Okay. So that's the OTP token. We restart the example app, and now let's see if it works. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping it works, and we still have to figure out how we're going to actually, how we're going to pass configuration in with this new world of not having a global provider. In progress, building development bundle. Come on. There we go. Okay. So we go back here and we start from scratch like that. Log in. Okay, so the debugger is still there. Oh, fuck me. We forgot to actually install it. So reinstall the app, the library in the example code, or in the example project, example app, whatever. Come on. All right, so that works. Yarn start again. Get Gatsby to build. It's a small app, so Gatsby is relatively quick here. It still takes a while because my computer is very busy with the whole streaming thing. But other than that, it's working pretty well. So we load the plugins. We get the building schema. No, that's pretty fast. Okay, so it's still in progress, but will it finish relatively quickly? Come on, building development bundle. You can do it, computer. Okay, computer got it. Now let's see. Localhost 8000. We go there. Debugger should go away. Okay. So now I can click login, and we go through the flow in the background, and it logged me in. Yes. So what just happened? What just happened there was that we successfully used a global state machine instead of context to communicate the current state of whether you're logged in or not logged in between different parts of the app. So that was great success. Now we got to figure out how to do this for, for other things. That was a weird way of saying that. But basically we have to figure out how to communicate the configuration of for useAuth to the service. So let's see, how can we do that? First of all, we can add we can clean this up a little bit. So in useAuth here, we're going to say that const send is a use callback, use callback, which gives us a new function anytime that event send changes. So this way we're not redefining the send function every time. Like that, right? No, what's still red? Okay, so we've got this part. Now let's figure out, first of all, the auth0 part. We can define this in the useAuth function, I think. Yeah, JS doc types may be moved to TypeScript types, whatever. Okay, so let's see, useAuth, AuthProvider. First of all here, when we are creating a new auth0 client, we can, how can we, oh, we also need to hydrate the machine from, from local storage. Maybe we can figure that part out first. So hydrating from local storage. Do we have any tricky things we can use to whatever? Okay, so as effect ensures that the action is executed as an effect. Use actor, use service, react hook, service, XState service. Okay, how can we, let's see, interpreting machines with the interpreter. Yeah, on transition we can do start, service, stop, sending events, send. Okay. Okay, whatever. Batched events. Ooh, that's nice. That seems useful. The end state, transitions, starting and stopping, executing actions, options. So these are the options we can use to populate the different parts of. I think we can use that. No, that would be nice. It would be cool if we could use this to trick stuff, trick the machine into working. So what we can do though is fire all of this in the beginning. Can we? So it is going to need the auth0 client to be able to run before we set anything, which could be a problem. Basically here in useAuth, where we create the machine, this one. So actually, let's do it like this. Let's put this in the auth reducer instead, this code. So and then auth service, auth reducer here is going to create the service. We can remove all of this stuff. At least I think so. Is anyone using the auth state part? Git grep auth state in source. We are using it in there, but we're not actually. Doesn't seem like we need that part, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, so what we're gonna do is create the auth service here, and we're going to export the auth service. And then down here, we're going to do all of the initialization stuff in the auth reducer, which we can potentially rename to auth service. So the auth reducer, let's go auth service. Is it going to let me auto import? No, it's not letting me auto import. So we're going to change this. Perm, use machine, use service. Come on, use service. That, and we import. Where is it? We add import auth service from /auth reducer. Okay, auth reducer has the auth service. So now we need to figure out how we can initialize this service in a way that lets you be logged in at the beginning. And that's tricky because we don't have all of the information that we need. And we don't want to put this in the useAuth hook in a use effect, because then it would run every time that you do, and anytime that you use useAuth anywhere on the page, it would rerun the whole thing, which is a problem. We also need a way to give configuration. So what can we do? What would make this easy to use? Or let's figure out the So I don't know what we need to figure out first. Do we need to first figure out the configuration part, or the part where we or like this part where we hydrate from local storage? So hydrating from local storage can work right away. Yes. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it in here when we start the service. So we're gonna hydrate from local storage, and we're going to take the send function and use it. So we say hydrate from local storage, and we put in the auth service.send function, which should work correctly without the added hack that we had to do for the use auth hook. And this is then going to automatically log us in. check local storage and log in as soon as this this file loads. Okay, so we're now going to compile this and try it in the example app. See if it works. I'm hoping it's going to work. So I'm gonna go into package.json, bump this up to 6, yarn build, and we'll see. So we don't need any of this stuff anymore. We also don't need the use reducer, but we're still using the provider for do we need the auth0 client? That's the question. No, we don't. It should be fine here. So the AuthProvider is still doing useful stuff that we need to figure out how we're going to do in the other situation. But we're slowly moving things out of the provider into the XState state machine service thing. Git commit -a -m, move hydrating from local storage to service. Okay, we're coming up on 45 minutes, which is how long I said this would take. And it did take that long. The part where I'm stuck is that I think I need to give it some more thought to figure out how the API is going to work without using the provider, because that was a very convenient way to share configuration, like to tell useAuth how to configure itself. So I need to figure out a new way of doing that, and I am coming up short right now. So yarn start. Let's see. Is anyone still watching? No, there's a couple people watching. Nice. So Gatsby is running. We'll now see if it's able to figure out whether we're logged in. 6 pages in progress. Come on. Come on. Building development bundle. You can do this, computer. Okay. So we should now see if it figures out that I am logged in. So we go log in, do the loopy loop. And if I look in the application local storage, my useAuth user is there, and the expires at info is there as well. So if I reload the page, it should figure out that I'm logged in, but it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Let's see if it's even running. So I'm going to remove all of the stuff. So mjs.star, what else? umd.star, and then we're going to let's remove mgs as well, and modern star. Let's see, is now only .js there. Perfect. So we have only index.js, and I'm going to, is it going to prettify? No. So I'm going to copy it into a new file. Actually, let's open blah.js, paste, save. That way we get a new, completely new file. And we paste this back here, save it, and try to find, let's see, hydrate from, of course, that's not there anymore. So what we have to look for is a function that looks kinda like this. And then we gotta see if it's being called. So hydrate from local storage, type of local storage. we can look for undefined. Undefined. Type of local storage. There we go. So C start, and then we call this thing, and we will see if this thing is actually running. So debugger, and then we do yarn start, and we should now go into the debugger statement as soon as Gatsby runs. We'll see if we do. The stream does work a lot better when I'm using a cable. That's good to know. Okay, come on, building development bundle. There we go. Now let's see what happens. Okay, we are in the debugger. So now we can look at, first of all, we're basically gonna go line by line. Is local storage defined? Okay, local storage is defined. Do we get a date? We do not get a date. Why not? Oh, I think I know why. We need to, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna step through this thing. So step, we go into there, we get the date. So we know that what my expires at is in the past. It's in the past, and we didn't go into, did we? So, okay, we did go into over here, I think. What? 12:55, but it's 2:59. Play. Okay, let's try to actually log in again and see. Maybe that was the problem. No. Okay. Let's remove the debugger statement and go in here instead and say console login with the R thingy. Let's go. Localhost 8000. No, I removed the debugger. Remove the debugger. Okay. Can you? Why is it still going in there? Reload the fucking page. So that's annoying. Let's open it in a new file or a new tab, and hopefully that's going to ignore the debugger. No, come on. Reload. Is there another debugger statement somewhere? Okay. Oh, we need to restart Gatsby because it doesn't automatically pick up changes in node modules files, which makes sense because those are not supposed to change. So let's try that again. Okay. So it's building. Come on, in progress. Finish building. Finish. Almost there. Yarn upgrade. Okay, success. Now let's see if we ever go into the login branch. So we didn't here. Let's log in again. Interesting. Yeah, let's try this in a new, in a incognito browser, because something weird is going on here. And I don't think it has to do with us moving to a XState service. Login. Yes. Team login. Okay, so that logged us in. And now if we look at the local storage for useAuth expires at, what is that date? New date from that number is, okay, is that more than a current date? Yes. Okay. So now when I reload the page, it should log me in. And it tried to. See, it went to the login part, but it didn't manage to reload things, which is weird. Command Shift R. Okay, so that's weird. It's not quite working. It does send the authenticated thing here, but then stuff doesn't work. Okay, so I'm gonna finish here. Thanks everyone for watching. I will try to figure this out off stream, or maybe on, we'll see. I'm gonna do some digging off stream, and then we're going to wrap it up not next week, but the week after that, because I have some other plans for next week and I won't be live streaming. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you again on the Wednesday next week. Bye.